I was just gathering the information about the recent accident in Kanchenjunga Express. I mean, by now the toll must have exceeded 100, death toll maybe 20. Surprisingly, what really struck me that almost 1 year back, maybe on 2nd June, similar accident happened that an express train was hit by a goods train from the behind. During that time, I came to know that Indian railway system has been introducing a system called Kabach, which is a railway protection system. Now, immediately I started looking that why Kabach is not effective in protecting the Kanchenjunga Express when it was hit by another goods train. Well, surprisingly, I came to know that Kabach has been deployed only on 1500-kilometer track as opposed to 150,000 track that Indian Railway owns, which means 1% adoption in 2 years. Is it because of the budget? No. What I figured out that 20,000 crore has been allocated in last financial year for Kabach. Government has allocated enough budget. Yet, it's only 1% deployment. What does it mean? It means that the deployment of Kabach is very complex. Why it is complex? Because Kabach is what we academicians call B2B and V2X system, meaning it depends on the communication between railway track and the rail and the station, and the rail and the satellite, and the rail and the signaling system. Meaning the rail will be communicating with, which means that the moving, a moving railway car is basically communicating with satellite, communicating with the station, communicating with the track, and there are different method of communication. For example, on the railway track, you have an RFID system. With station, you might be having a VHF system and satellite system. So, basic idea of any kind of V2B and V2X system is usually a car can map the location of the other car, so it can easily take the decision whether it's going to get collided or not. Now, as you can see, in order to deploy Kabach, it's not so easy job. You really have to have a lot of electronic device on railway track, on station, on top of the railway car. And then, that everything has to be stitched along with a system, which is even more difficult because the real-time system has to work in millisecond. Overall scheme is not so easy. I mean, being an IoT engineer for a long time, and I can tell you that I'm not surprised at such a lower deployment rate, because this kind of technology that involves so many communicating devices are inherently a nightmare for an engineer. It's not so easy. So I'm not blaming anyone why it is 2%, why it is 1% in 2 years. As an engineer, I perfectly understand that. But what I'm telling you, there would have been a lot more easier solution if they would have used perception-based technology, which today's car are using. So whenever we drive in US and on the road, like Tesla first brought in the simple perception-based anti-collision. What it is, it's just a replacement of the human vision system and then decision making. So what Tesla does is the Tesla car, these cameras are there. That was 6-7 years back. That's what they did, and they do something called semantic segmentation. That is visualizing everything, and with the help of semantic segmentation, it can understand that basically the car is moving, this is moving, a car is slowing down. This all vision perception can be extracted very easily in a real time in millisecond, and based on which you can place this. Now, this Tesla system has a limitation. Obviously, right now, not only Tesla, Toyota, and all other simple car also have the same kind of anti-collision system. So they introduce a little more for all automated car, which is they introduce also millimeter wave radar and IR cameras, because in the night you need IR cameras, because whenever there is a fog, smog, you need a millimeter wave to penetrate it. And millimeter wave imaging, like a SAR imaging, is a very common technology right now. It's actually also work on the similar fashion, and you can easily figure out all the co-moving car, their speed, their range. In fact, millimeter wave actually can do a lot better because it also uses Doppler effect to figure out the relative velocity of the car and other stuff. By the way, so this perception technology has been evolving for car protection. It's working well. It's well tested, and in fact, in most of the US road, the cars can move anything between 100 kilometers to 200 kilometers doing, and it has an advantage. It doesn't depend on you have to modernize the station, track, everything. It doesn't. You need to build such a complex system. It's simply an anti-collision device based on the fact A machine understands a threat perception that I'm going to hit a trend, so I stop. Yeah, as simple as that. So my question to Oshini Boshnab, I mean, he's a very well qualified engineer, very talented person, that why adopting a technology like Kabach, which is, again, I repeat, which is very complex. I know as an engineer, as an IoT engineer, it's a very complex technology. You should not be actually introducing such a complex thing, especially in the Indian context. And it's difficult. Even if this ambitious is difficult, entire world is working on B2B and B2X kind of technology, and it's actually taking a lot more time, even when Amazon and Google, they tried to introduce it. Why take the such a hardest route, which has not been so far very successful and been very slow deployment? Why don't you take something that is working, which is simple perception-based technology, a lot more low cost, easy to deployment? Because otherwise, what will happen is you can drum it about, you can drum as much as you want about the coverage, but there is an inherent difficulty in the introduction of that and the deployment of that. So this is my warning as a, I'm just trying to give a suggestion as a technologist. I don't think that what Indian Railway is doing by using Kabach is a great thing, great futuristic thing, but deployment rate is going to be horrible. It's not going to be so easy to introduce it. It will be slow. And in my view, they need to take a second look at it. Looking at the deployment rate, they can easily introduce this kind of perception-based anti-collision system that modern cars are already using to make sure that, at least in next 10 years, you have something in hand, because perception-based system is very easy to deploy. It's already exist, and you can, it's already now well developed by the car companies. You can partner with any of the car company, maybe Tesla. And I believe that you can come out with an anti-collision technology very quickly to save Indian Railway. Otherwise, you are going to have this kind of accident again and again, and you can drum about Kabach, but nobody will trust you anymore.